Welcome to the 3-in-1 Synergy webinar. Our our webinar today is entitled "The Best of Spring Meeting." This is a continuation of an earlier meeting that we had with the 3-in-1 Synergy group earlier this year. Our meeting will begin with 2 speakers today, and we'll be covering some interesting data that was collected through our survey. Before we begin, we'll start off with what is the 3-in-1 Synergy Group, what is 3-in-1, and it is an industry networking group, information sharing, education, and fun. It's open to all municipalities with an interest in 3-in-1. The 3-in-1 Synergy Group invites you to join us for our 2016 meeting, April 24th to the 26th in wonderful Phoenix, Arizona. Be a customer service week with 3 full days packed with discussions surrounding 3-in-1 Synergy. Of course, you can join us through the LinkedIn 3-in-1 Synergy Group as well. Our presenters today are Dallas 3-in-1 Margaret Wright and Toya Williams from Richmond, Virginia. I'll transfer this over to Margaret.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Margaret Wright. I'm with the City of Dallas 311 and want to share with you today some of the high-level findings of the 3-in-1 Synergy Group Comparative Survey. What you'll be seeing today is the 2014 data, and this information was presented at our 3-in-1 Synergy Group spring meeting. So we're going to talk about surveys and trends and why so many of us think participating in this survey is a valuable benefit of the 3-in-1 Synergy Group. So the first question is, what's in it for me? Why would I want to participate in this survey? And we want to find out how you compare to other centers, what are other people doing, what can we learn from our peer organizations. And to me, one of the real values of participating in the survey is getting the raw data that has the specifics. You only get that if you participate in the survey. So I hope by the end of the session today that you are convinced that it's a good thing to participate in. But let's talk about the high-level findings that are in the presentation today. First of all, I want to thank, you'll see the folks there from various organizations that participated on our survey team, and so it's not just me. I've got a great team that help us put together the questions and look at the information and how to present it. So this is the 6th year for the survey, and we will always be indebted to our colleagues in Minneapolis. They blazed the trail for getting the survey started. We have 46 participants this year. You'll see we spent about a month with an open data gathering period, and the nature of the questions there. We did, speaking of the data gathering period, we ended up having to extend our response time a week due to the weather problems that you may recall in the Northeast this year. One of the things that we do ask our participants to sign is a non-disclosure agreement for the specific information that's in the raw data, because that's part of what makes the sharing beneficial, is that you know that it is confidential information and isn't going to be disclosed by other organizations. One of the things that we look at from year to year with the survey team is looking at the previous survey and determine which questions need to be added or clarified. So we change things up from year to year. So you'll see this year's survey had more information and more details on training content, recognition programs. And one of the particularly interesting trends that we're looking at is 311's participation in an emergency operations situation. So we wanted to capture that activity in the survey as well. You'll see on this slide the general characteristics of where 311s report in various organizations. The most common is the city manager's office, and then IT and the mayor's office share the number 2 spot. Again, emergency communications is one of the other categories, speaking to that trend about the role that 311 can play in emergency operations. The next slide shows you the range of participating cities and the populations that have a 311 center, even if it's not called 311. Sometimes it's a 10-digit number, but the survey is open to participants whether you just have the 311 number or whether you use a 10-digit number. The majority of respondents, as you see, fall either in the 300 to 600,000 population or 600 to 1 million, but let's not overlook those small and mighty 1 to 50,000 cities, so you're never too small to have a 311. So the next couple of slides, I'll walk you through, gosh, what does this mean? So across the top, this is the number of calls received, and then the bars represent the population served. So looking at the green bars, for example, those are cities with populations of 50 to 150,000, and you'll see that the range of number of calls they receive is roughly about the number of population. It's kind of interesting. Very often cities will end up with a call volume that's approximately equal to their population. The red bars represent cities with 150 to 300,000 population. There is one overachiever in that group. That's Rochester, New York, and they reported 477,000 calls in 2014. The blue bars are the 300 to 600,000 population group. The median number of calls there is a little over 300,000. The next slide is our next population group. The blue bars are the 600,000 to 1 million population, and the median number of calls there is a little over 800,000. And then the red bars are the largest population centers, with the exception of New York City. They would have blown the chart off the page because they take almost 21 million calls a year. So they are by far our largest participant. In terms of looking at the age of participating centers, you can see 2006 to 2010 was the heyday for centers opening, and the second most common time frame for a startup was 2001 to 2005. Perhaps one of the factors impacting the lower number after 2010 is the recovery from the recession. Speaking for my own organization, it's just been in the last couple of years that funding has been more available for technology and new initiatives. So many of us have spent the last 4 or 5 years just trying to get back to where we were before the recession. Are your hours of operation 24/7? Again, this is a breakdown by population, so it's a little surprising to see that half of the largest cities are not open 24/7 in that over 1 million category. And so here's some other highlights from those hours. 33% are open 24/7, and you'll see at least half the centers have some kind of weekend hours, and a few centers are reporting some changes in hours in 2014, and finally 5 centers as of early this year are considering expanding in 2015. So the most common functions that are supported you see on the left, no surprise there. Those are very typical municipal operations. And then some of the other responses that we get, the one I point out there is the one in the middle, reporting of missing individuals. Again, these are our friends in New York City. kind of what we call planning ahead. This is intake and reporting of individuals missing due to a mass disaster. So again, that emergency operations preparation. And something for everyone on slide 18 just tells you, if you're looking for a center that supports one of these functions, we've got it. This slide shows you the trends in communication channels that we've seen over the years. Some of these were a little surprising in terms of some of the things that were decreasing in this year, and the thing that we chalk that up to is just a different mix of participants from year to year. But no big surprise to me that mail and fax are declining. The web chat and text not being higher was a little surprising, and online self-service is a little lower than I would have expected. But again, you see the variety of different communication channels, which particularly social media, web chat, text, I think those numbers are going to go up in years to come. Almost half of our respondents are in the social media world, and a significant percentage of those are taking inbound service requests via social media. Everyone that reported that they're active in social media are on both Facebook and Twitter. Outsourcing. The most common outsourcing activity, which there's not very many of our respondents that do that, but if they have outsourcing of some of their activities, it's your after hours or weekend calls or peak time overflow when you have got more calls coming in than you do availability to take those calls. Again, the role in emergency operations center activations, you'll see the kind of responses. So the largest number are both a point of communication for residents about what's happening, and centers that are a participating department. They have a seat at the table in the Emergency Operations Center. So certainly, again, that's something that we see here in Dallas, that our participation in emergency operations is increasing. I think that's the nature of the times. Staffing levels. So stay with me on this chart. So on the left side of the chart, you'll see the different role in the call centers. And then across the top, the population groups. So for example, cities with over 1 million, the average number of supervisors in their centers is 9. In those large cities, the average number of support staff, and that's not IT, but your QA, your trainers, your workforce management folks. So the average there is 20. And full-time agents, you see an average of 60, an average of 31 part-time agents, an average of 13 temps or contractors, and work-from-home agents. Now, I don't think this means that, for example, the average is, if you want to add up all of those agents, I'm not sure that it's realistic to say, gosh, they're going to have almost 100 agents. But again, you kind of get an idea of the mix of the kind of staff that folks have. And then, again, going over to the right, the smaller centers obviously have a smaller staff because they don't have the call volume. Our median supervisor to agent ratio is 1 supervisor for every 10 agents. 65% of our respondents say yes, they use some kind of screening test for applicants. And you can see customer service orientation is way up there in terms of what's important in your hiring process, along with the things that you'd expect about basic PC skills and can someone, write and keyboard and so forth. Agent compensation, this is just kind of, again, general information for folks. The median hourly rates for centers in the U.S. is $15.29, and the max is $21.41, and you see it's a little higher with our Canadian neighbors. The median, again, is the middle value, if you will. It's not the statistical average, which might skew our numbers a little bit. The most common other pay elements that we saw in the survey are language skills pay, shift differential, and skill-based pay for those centers that have that take more than one type of call. Agent training periods range from 1 week, which is the smallest centers, to 16 to 20 weeks, and you see the most common classroom training period and the most common on-the-job training. Almost half of our respondents are also using video or DVDs to train agents in addition to just your standard classroom training. And a majority of centers also use some kind of testing of their agents. Everybody likes to have fun and reward good work. Here's how we do it. Holiday celebrations, there would be decorating contests or potlucks, birthdays, staff appreciation. We looked at non-monetary rewards. So what do people do to reward good performance that doesn't cost money? A lot of folks have Customer Service Week events in October, and don't forget there's always 311 Day, which is March 11th. A lot of centers had celebrations for those activities as well. 83% of our respondents score agents' calls for quality, and I guess here's another difference I would highlight between perhaps true emergency response, a 911 call center. Customer service is not going to be the #1 item that's scored. They have a different focus than 311, where we're looking at customer service. So you see, again, all the way, everybody checks for customer service, and then even so, almost 70% even are looking at how are agents using the tools that are available to them. So service level is defined as what % of calls are answered and how long. And that's a better indicator of a customer's typical experience than just a straight average speed of answer. Again, you can get a little skew by your outliers there. And the most common responses from the centers are that 80 to 90% of the calls are answered in 30 seconds. Now, we also have, we do have just some of your basic metrics. Here's the most common abandonment rate responses. 37% is less than 5%, so that's looking really good. And here's that average speed of answer. Again, the most common average speed of answer is somewhere in the 30 to 35 second range. Not too different than that the service level agreement of trying to get 80% of your calls answered in 30 seconds. And here's average talk and handle time. So this is your after call work when your agents are wrapping up, perhaps updating your CRM, the work order system. And you'll see the most common is 30 to 35, I'm sorry, not 30 to 35 seconds. How about 150 to 200 seconds? For 2015, this is what people were expecting in terms of their goals: an average speed of answer of 30 seconds, that abandonment rate of 5%, and again, the average talk and handle time after call work of 180 seconds. Cost per call. This is an interesting thing that we debated at some length at the 311 Synergy Group meeting. Apparently, it's the question we don't want to answer. Because only 54% of our respondents provided the info, and I think that it's because it is so difficult to get a true apples-to-apples comparison. So you see our response range was from 44% of just straight salary costs, and these are just salary costs per call, to $7.50. Our median salary cost per call is $2.44. But we'll see on the next page. Oops, where did my slide go? Hold on, having a little technical difficulty here. Well, seem to be stuck, but the next slide was going to indicate the things that are covered in the budget, and the problem is that not everyone's budget, for example, includes all their renter facility charges. It doesn't include all your technology. So it's a little hard to know. Hold on, let me see if I can get to this slide. Hold on just a second here. Well, that one's apparently not showing up. So, again, the challenge in getting a true cost per call is just the variety of budget elements that are in each call center's costs. So for 2015, there are several centers that are implementing a new CRM or rolling out either an RFP for a CRM. Folks are adding additional call types. And people are expanding work from home and their self-service options and adding speech analytics, workforce management dashboards. And Pinal County, Arizona is implementing 311 in 2015. So we look forward to hearing from them in the survey next year to see how that's gone for them. So with that, I want to turn it back over to Richard for the technology side of the house.
Thank you, Margaret. And I will be I'll actually be giving this over to, I believe, Atlanta.
Okay, Richard, actually, yeah. How you doing today? My name is Toya Williams, and I am the Project Management Analyst for the City of Richmond. And what I'm going to be talking to you about, and let me get my slides caught up, the 311 technical survey that was done in 2015. And first, I would like to thank my committee members, Annie Maimoni, Nick Shaydagger, and Lisa Collins for helping get all the results in for the technical survey. Also, my disclaimer for the survey, the technical survey is definitely informational. There was a lot of good feedback that we received from the different call centers, and we really want to use the information that we received to kind of help you determine which products will best suit your organization. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. During this particular presentation, I just want to highlight a couple of things that we felt was really important when we were looking at the raw data. Trending analysis, the trending technology, open data, open 311, social network, quality monitoring, and customer service surveys. Pretty much after reviewing the 2014 raw data, the committee identified that there was some definite technology usage increase. There seems to be some interest in telecommuting and remote work opportunities. Roughly 30% of the respondents that completed the survey now offer some type of a telecommute or remote work opportunities for their staff. And this includes agents, supervisors, and support staff. It also appears that more and more call center programs and applications are moving to a virtual server or a cloud application. This seems to be a huge trend across all the call centers. Roughly 48% of call centers surveyed have self-service options via the IVR system, the interactive voice response system. And lastly, roughly 99% of those who responded to the survey are actually using Microsoft SharePoint to share their files. Not sure if you're familiar with Microsoft SharePoint, but it is a very user-friendly software that is supported by Microsoft. Again, these are just some of the trends that we felt were worth sharing when we were looking at the results from this year's survey compared to last year's. Okay, open data. Pretty much open data. In 2009, President Obama issued an open government directive. Open government or open data was created for three reasons. Government transparency, which allows all citizens the opportunity to know what their government is doing. Releasing social and commercial value, which means building search engines to help citizens easily locate government resources that provide social and commercial value, such as finding the address of a local post office or downloading like a DSS form. And then participatory governance, providing opportunities for citizens to be more engaged and involved in decision-making. In other words, not just knowing what is happening in the process of governance, but also being able to contribute to the process. So 50% of this year's respondents say they do publish some type of open data. Open 311 was actually adopted in 2010. The Open 311 concept allows citizens to submit requests concerning their communities. These requests are standardized. Some benefits of Open 311 is that the request that can be submitted can be done via a mobile device, a handheld device. It avoids unsolicited and unformatted emails, and it also allows for public crowdsourcing of issues. And if you want to know more about Open 311, there's a great website at open311.org. Published open data. So according to our survey results, the following items or information is actually being published in the local 311 call centers. So call center metrics, which will include things such as wait times, operating hours, call handle time, maybe even some quality scores. Service request data, information or knowledge request data, and then of course we had other information that's being published. Use of mobile and Open 311. Acceptance of mobile apps is relatively steady, but more are adopting the Open 311 standard. In this slide, we compare the data from 2014 against 2015, and pretty much there are roughly 15 mobile app vendors that are being used now, and then the top 2 mobile app vendors are SeeClickFix and Connected Bits. Both have over 500,000 contacts. You can see the comparison in this slide. Social media usage. Pretty much we surveyed the group, and web chat is roughly about 12% usage. Twitter, we got about 73% usage. Facebook, 51%. And then SMS text messaging, 19%, and then other type of social media being 29%. Pretty much I just want to highlight a few things. With Facebook, we noticed that the usage is 51%, and that's because most of the different agencies have their own Facebook pages. So the usage is going to be higher there. It's not necessarily just for that particular municipality or locality. It's based off of the agency. And then web chat is seems to be a really great resource for customer service and just basic communications. Okay, why social media? Social media is really effective in terms of communicating to the citizens. So 70% of the respondents agree that it's effective for communicating. It also has a language support. There's roughly 3% surveyed agreed that it was a language support. It also allows to create service requests and then also to send us alerts. So alerts, we're looking at roughly 61%. Quality monitoring. This was something else that was big we found to be within the survey results. 50% of respondents have their own in-house quality monitoring tool. 33% use a vendor-supported tool, and then 17% use a commercial software. Quality monitoring, since it was such a big piece of the survey, we kind of looked at it in terms of with the capabilities, what are the different capabilities. So based off of the feedback, we looked at what was most important for call centers. The first being records emails and web chats. So we had roughly 21% of the respondents agreed that their quality monitoring system or tool can record emails and web chat. 87% records calls available via real time. 16%, the agents have the ability to record their own calls. 18% records calls remotely, and then 59% can view calls, recorded calls remotely. 47% records audio and video, and then 92% records all calls. Quality monitoring other functions, just kind of going down the list. 72% stores calls on the network drive. 57% purge calls automatically. 79% can retrieve scored monitors. 80% electronically forwards scoring. 91% creates reports. 87% cumulative scoring. 67% web-based. And then 57% automated QA form. Now, based off of the feedback that we received and the different functionalities and capabilities, we pretty much identified like a top 5 for quality monitoring tools and vendors. The top 5 consist of Blue Butler. They ranked #1 in terms of being able to provide most capabilities and functionalities. The second one was Tutti Incorporated. Number 3 was Cisco Calabrio. Number 4, Interactive Intelligence. And then number 5 was Telestrat. So what we did this year was try to identify the different tools, vendors, and applications that really provided a lot of benefits, meaning capabilities and functionalities, and give the members at the conference something to work with. So again, we did identify top 5 vendors. Now the next section, we're talking about surveys. So how are you doing? Pretty much we've identified that surveys aren't really being used like in the private sector. So survey usage, pretty much out of 33 respondents, 12 utilize a telephone survey compared to 21 who do not. So that's definitely an opportunity for us to look at going forward. Survey delivery, for those who are using surveys, roughly 12% are using a phone-type automated survey. And then you also have CRM. You can send an email through the CRM application, and then there's other tools that you can use to deliver a survey. So that's all we really reviewed during our committee review of our survey. Now, next year we would love to get participation from more call centers to kind of identify other technology trends and to get some ideas for improvement. So pretty much that's all that I have to share. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Amber. I'm sorry, maybe Richard?
Hi. So we're about to start our questions and answer session. One of the things that we're probably all asking ourselves right now is, on the survey, we know we have a lot of numbers of people who participated, but how is it we can drive up the participation for this coming year?
This is Margaret.
Is that a question? Okay.
That's for both. I mean, really,
yeah.
both surveys. It's how what can we do as a 301 Synergy Group to drive up that number for this next year?
Well, this is Margaret. One of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, but I'd like to point out again is, again, what you saw today is just the aggregate information, but, you know, in looking at the raw data, I mean, I probably saw like 8 things that I wanted to ask specific organizations. Well, gee, how is Chicago doing this? What is LA doing? You know, how does Austin handle this? And you only get that specific information by participating in the survey. So it's nice to have the overall, again, aggregate data that you see in the presentation, but particularly if I wanted to find out exactly what someone's doing or they're using a particular screening tool, for example, call simulation, well, you know, what tool are you using? You only can have access to that information if you're participating. The other comment I would make, because I've had a couple of people wonder, well, what's the difference between the comparative survey and the technology survey? There seems to be overlap. I guess my comment on that would be the comparative survey is really more about what kinds of things people are doing, and the technology is what are the tools they're using to do that. So, yeah, there might be a general overlap of topics. For example, quality monitoring. In the comparative survey, you'll see, for example, the skills or performance elements that people are monitoring for, but the technology survey will tell you what tools they're using to do that.
We have a question out there as well. Is it possible to get a copy of this presentation?
Yes, I believe that I know the technology survey presentation should be posted in, I believe, LinkedIn, if I'm not mistaken. If not, you can always email me and I can send the presentation to you. And I can send that through a chat, my email address, to everyone.
Margaret?
Yeah, this one, my understanding is that CS Week is going to make this available for any participant. And I also see a question about any data on attrition or turnover rates. And I'm looking in the data. Hold on. I don't think we included that this year. Hold on. Let me check on that, because I thought we had, but maybe that was a previous year. So I don't see that, but that's a good question to include for next year's survey.
Margaret, does the survey track first call resolution?
It does track first call resolution. You know, we obviously don't put everything in the overall presentation, but first call resolution is one item that we track. Hold on, let me see, because I happen to have the raw data. So it comes up in terms of one of the metrics that's in agent performance. And hold on, I'm looking at some of the other. Yeah, so it also it's one of the questions about the goals for 2015. What's your goal for first call resolutions? So just some of the answers that I see there for the goals for this year are typically 80 to 90%.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like I'm hoping all of our participants and attendees have participated in the survey. And it sounds like the way we're going to get some of that extra deep down raw data is just you have to participate. So do we have any other questions out there?
Maybe not.
Does It sounds like I seen somebody typing, and I saw it clear. All right. Well, I want to say thank you very much to Toya and Margaret, and thank you very much also to our 2015 Diamond sponsors, Microsoft and ADX Studios.
We hope to see everybody participating in the survey next year, both of them, both surveys.
Yes, yes.
And thank you, guys.
Thank you.